Welcome in, dads, to the Full Force Fathers podcast. Alongside David Fortin here, I'm Brett Aragoni. We are the co-hosts and the co-founders of Full Force Fathers. So welcome into the show. Dave, how you doing today?
Man, the draft just happened. Cowboys, baby. We're looking forward to another season. Can't wait.
Another terrible draft by the Dallas Cowboys this year.
I never know what to take from the draft. I always have high expectations, and I usually get let down somewhere around the middle of September.
Yeah. Cowboys will be 4-0 again, and everyone's going to be on top of the world, and then all of a sudden.
Super Bowl champs.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys just need Tom Brady to retire because you haven't done anything since the guy came in the league. So.
That's true. That's true.
But anyway, guys, welcome into the show. We appreciate it. Everyone that's listening on, watching on YouTube, listening on all the major platforms, bear with us a little bit, and please let us know. We're trying to switch up some technology here to, we're trying to produce the best quality content on the show. So please let us know what you think of this episode versus other episodes, because we are trying something new today. You still can see us on YouTube. You can still listen to us on the major platforms, but we're just making some tweaks. Dave's the technology guy. We're just trying to bring our A game every episode. So bear with us. If you notice anything major off, please let us know. So with that in mind, Dave, we got a few topics we're going to jump into today. I'm going to start with a Bible verse here, and that's going to hop us right into topic one. And the Bible verse today comes from Proverbs chapter 24, verse 27. And it says, "Put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your house." And that to me is the big line. So Dave, give me your initial thoughts, initial reactions.
So I usually spin things a financial way, right? So I'm going to do that here as well. And what that tells me is you need to have your house in order. You need to take care of the things outside first before you can focus on building towards a greater future, right? So what does that mean? We've got to have a small emergency fund. We've got to have the debt paid off, right? Then we've got to build a full emergency fund. And then you can really start to live and start building on those things and really start attacking your goals and living.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the words "build your house" are they're pretty cut and dry. I think you can use anything as the quote unquote your house. It could be your body, it could be your actual house, it could be your family life, it could be your work life. And a good way I think about it is in terms of building your house from your life standpoint, make sure you got everything in order. Make sure you have your plan set. Make sure if you want to look at it from a fitness standpoint, make sure you have your diet dialed in, your workout schedule dialed in, your plans all dialed in, because, you just can't skip out of the preparation. You can't just dump a load of lumber in the middle of the forest and start building a house, right? You have to prepare the site. All right. You have to prepare your body. You have to prepare your health. You have to prepare your wellness. You have to prepare yourself financially. All right. And, so anybody can interpret that proverb the way they want. The big part being the big two things I get out of it is preparation and then the process of the preparation to the end product of your house. Build your house. Whatever your house is, you need to prepare it. You need to build it. Right. And that means
it's an everyday process, right? We talk about it every week, on Sundays, lining up for the week and making a plan and winning the days, winning the weeks. And that slowly just keeps you building and growing towards more.
Yeah. It's all about like I said, the word preparation. And then once you have the preparation in place, the consistency to keep it. But think about that. If you're a Bible reader, if you're not a Bible reader, think about what build your house means to you. All right. Because to me, it's just, like I said, you got, first of all, decide where you want your house to be. Where do you want your body to be? Where do you want your family life to be? Dave, where do you want your money to be? Right. Decide on that goal first. Mm-hmm. And then you put the plan in action to get those goals that you're preparing for. So in terms of building your house financially, what's something, give me a minute on building your house, building a financial house. How would you put it in order in the order to build a financial house?
Well, to build a financial house, you've got to start free, right? You've got to get yourself free. So you've got to eliminate the debt that you have, because that is just a hindrance and it's holding you back. If you keep making minimum payments on debt, really you can't get ahead. You don't have enough to put into retirement or to put into saving for an actual house, right? Those types of things. And you're just constantly in a wheel and just spinning and spinning and spinning. So if you get your debt paid off, right, Then you get an emergency fund put together. We've talked about this in the past, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. You've got an emergency fund there. Now you can really start to build your financial foundation for your house. And that starts, your 401k at work, or a Roth IRA outside of work, or your kids' college savings. It's those types of things that you can then work on and really commit to and make a big impact on. If you're paying a bunch of debt payments and you can only send $25 or $50 a month towards your retirement, you're not gaining any ground there. And all you're doing is just basically wading in the water and hoping something happens right for you. And it's not. You need to be focused all the time. So you focus on getting the outside things taken care of, so then you can really focus on building the house and building a strong foundation.
Yeah, and in that Bible verse it mentions fields, right? Preparing your fields, get your fields ready. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? You don't just take seeds. Say you want to plant a garden. You don't just take seeds and dig a hole anywhere you want in the ground and plant the seeds. You're not preparing your fields, right? When it comes to your fitness, you have a goal. You want to lose X number of pounds. You want this. You want to fit into that shirt. It starts with the work that you have to put in to get there, the preparation work, and then the actual work. Then you can actually start to build your house. You don't just walk into the gym and say, okay, I'm going to the gym today. But if you don't have a plan as what you're going to do in the gym today, good, you're at the gym, but what good are you doing at the gym if you don't have a plan? What weights are you lifting? Or are you going on the treadmill? You know what I mean? Are you going on the elliptical to get some cardio in? Are you hitting the bench press? Are you hitting the Nautilus machines? What is your plan to build your house, right? Your body is your house.
Yeah.
My body is my temple.
It's so easy to walk into the gym and you don't know what you're doing. You're like, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do some bicep curls. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to go do a little chest press. And then maybe hit some legs and some squats. And you just, all over the place, scattered.
Yeah, you got to do the preparation. You got to know, hey, there's some of those I know plenty of people in the gym that are very strict. They only do biceps and back on the same day, right? So what's your plan? Are you planning, you want to get stronger? You want to get leaner? You want to get faster? Have your plan in place and then build your house. It's pretty, like I said, it's cut and dry. Prepare, build. You don't build without the preparation first. And that goes for everything in life. Okay. And that's going to segue into my second topic here I want to talk about, Dave, is youth sports. It's a big thing for me. I've been coaching for, 25 years. I've been coaching youth sports. All right. I know your kids play youth sports. Two of my daughters do. Finley's too young still to play youth sports, and they're big into soccer. But this is a big topic for me. Coming from the background that I come from, for those of you that don't know, if you didn't listen to our intro podcast episode number 1, my father was a professional baseball player. I grew up in a house that's all we did was eat, breathe, sleep, baseball especially, but just sports in general. SportsCenter was on the TV. The second I woke up in the morning, SportsCenter was the last thing I went to watch before I went to bed if there wasn't a game on. So my love of sports, I've passed down to my kids. Dave, I know you love basketball, and your kids are playing basketball now, and Bryce plays football and all these different sports that they're involved in, and Kendall does karate. And, this is a broad topic that I think we're going to find our way going down a couple different rabbit holes on this one. And youth sports, to me, I'm very passionate about it, but there's nothing more that pisses me off than is the monetization of youth sports, Dave. That's what pisses me off. The people that are out there that are doing it for a paycheck, or they're doing it because they think their kid's the next Michael Jordan, they have taken, and I see this, my oldest plays club soccer. It's travel soccer. It costs an arm and a leg to play it. Even though I coach, it still costs money to do it. And it drives me crazy how much youth sports is driven by money. Any initial thoughts on youth sports? Because if you don't take the mic from me, I'm not going to stop.
Well, Madison being involved in club soccer is certainly more involved than what my kids are at this point. They're still a little bit on the younger side. But I agree. I mean, it costs so much to get your kids involved in sports, even if it's not on that level, on the club level, right? Joining a rec league, they've gotten really expensive. Well, you mentioned Kendall is in karate. That's an expensive monthly fee we pay, and we've paid that every month for the last 4 years. And it's an investment in your kids and what you think they're going to enjoy. But I think the problem that we have is we just, like you said, you want your kid to be the next Michael Jordan. And it's kind of hard to pull back a little bit and realize, you know what, that's probably not going to happen here. And maybe just kind of get them in a position where they can start in something smaller, see if they really get a liking for it. Maybe in like a church league, something like that. That's one of the areas we started Bryce with flag football, was in a local church organization that had a flag football league. So that's what we put him in, and it was $100 for the whole season. And that to me was affordable, which I know we were talking about soccer with Madison, and it's significantly different than that.
Yeah, and to be completely open and honest here, Madison's not the next Mia Hamm. She's not the next Carly Lloyd. She's not, And those that's a topic for another day, but that's a conversation. There's a reason he's Michael Jordan. There's a reason he's LeBron James. There's a reason there's Kobe Bryant. There's a reason there's, Peyton Manning. Name any sport and name the greats. The Tiger Woodses of the world, right? Those guys and gals are 1 in a billion, and I think the monetization part of it is these parents. Sometimes it's just as much the parents' fault as the organization's fault, because, I know plenty of girls that they're in club soccer, right? That takes up 10 months of the year or 9 months of the year, 3-4 nights a week, games, tournaments, right? And on their off nights, they're doing one-on-one training with specialized coaches, all right? In the summer, all they do is go to camps. We have to listen, like I said, those elite athletes are 1 in a billion, all right? The conversation is tough to have with your child. The conversation is actually probably tougher to have with the parent, the conversation they have to have with themselves. And they got to stop living, a lot of these parents
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, they live vicariously through their kids. Like,
yeah,
maybe you didn't make it, and listen, I'm going to piss people off with this. Okay, I get it. My dad was a pro baseball player. And I remember taking ground balls in parking lots, Dave, because there was no fields open. My dad would force us out to a parking lot. I love my dad at that. He's my best friend. But he would force me and my brother to go hit receive ground balls in parking lots. I've had baseballs bounce off potholes and hit me in the face. And you know what? I stopped playing baseball after middle school because I hated it. Because, my dad was like, baseball, baseball, baseball. You know what I mean? And I got sick of it.
Well, I had a good friend in high school. Same thing. His dad pushed him to play golf. He was a really good golfer. Went to, played all the way through high school, went to college on a full scholarship, played golf. He doesn't play golf anymore. He hates it. He doesn't want to go anywhere near a golf course. And I think that's sad, right? And I think it's because of the pressure we as parents end up putting on our kids to do the things that maybe we didn't do, like you said, as kids, the things that we wanted to do. And we force it down their throats, whether they want it or not.
Yeah, listen, and kids, I'm all for, steer your kids towards sports and away from technology, okay? All the time. That's what I'm going to tell you that. But let them, it's the classic Roger Federer, Tiger Woods argument, right? Roger Federer, for those of you who don't know, is the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest tennis player of all time. And Tiger Woods argues the greatest golfer of all time, right? The argument is Tiger Woods was specialized from the time he could pretty much stand up. I mean, if I recall, he was on some of those late night TV shows, whether Johnny Carson or one of them, at 3 years old with a golf club, right? Yeah. And then, listen, turned out to be the greatest golfer, right? Flip it to the Roger Federer side of the argument. He played multiple sports. I think he actually played soccer up until he was 10 or 11 or 12 before he decided, hey, I'm actually pretty good at tennis. And his parents, and they let him make that choice where Mr. Woods kind of said, here you go, Tiger, here's a club, become a robot, right? Now, at the end, if you look at it, big picture, they both turned out to be their respective goats in their sports, right? Eventually, maybe someone comes along and takes over. We'll probably see another Roger Federer because there's already a couple guys right there with him before we ever see another Tiger Woods, just because how polarizing he was and how much as we all know, he's just a killer. But that's your classic argument. Like, so do these parents, do I want to just say, Madison, soccer, 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 soccer? No, hell no. She likes horseback riding. You know what I mean? There was a time where she did some gymnastics. She wanted to run cross country a little bit here and there. I'm not going to just say, you like soccer, club soccer it is, and that's it. That's the other thing. That's the other wrinkle to this. These clubs and these coaches at these clubs, by the way, who are making salaries. I know coaches in private soccer clubs that are making salaries. That's their job. All right. So which makes me pose the question: are they doing it for the love of the coach, or are they doing it because they're getting a paycheck and they're doing it? Because I can tell you, I know plenty of coaches that do it for the paycheck, and I also know coaches that do it for the love of the sport and the love of helping. Because I personally, coaching club soccer, never wanted to take a check. They actually forced me. You got to take something. You know what I mean? It's just part of their program. Whereas nothing makes me happier than getting a group of kids together and saying, "Come on, guys, our girls. You know, obviously I have daughters, so I coach a lot of girls soccer too. Let's go." And having fun and making soccer or making baseball or making golf or making tennis or making basketball fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially at a young age, if you're trying to, some of these parents are grooming their kids for success in sports. It's not fun. You know what I mean? No. One thing kids are, Dave, they're brutally honest. They're absolutely brutally honest. They're going to tell you, unless they're stealing candy, they're going to tell you the truth, or you're going to know something's wrong if they don't want to tell you. I see the burnout. I've seen the burnout with just one sport. I've seen the burnout in club soccer, but I had the burnout in baseball. It is what it is, but it's just this special, and then like I said, these coaches and these organizations, they want these kids. I know one of Madison's best friends is Dave. She's just a natural. She's an elite athlete. Whatever sport she does choose, she's going to be the best player on the field. She is already.
Sure.
Right? But these coaches and these organizations, I want 100% of player A all the time. She's not allowed to play this. She's not allowed to play that.
They don't want to do anything else. You can't participate in anything at school. You can't be in the band or the chorus or any of those extra things. It's full commitment to whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, and I've seen coaches get mad where a girl is a great soccer player, but she also happens to be a great basketball player or a great softball player. And the coaches, you almost have battling coaches because the basketball coach doesn't want her playing soccer and the soccer coach doesn't want her playing basketball because they want all that time. Because this is where I'm saying, is it for the love of the sport or the love of the money in the aspect of the coaches, where are they so reliant on one girl or one boy just because that child is the best player that maybe they're not going to win?
But this is where we need to step in as parents, as dads, right, and help our kids determine what it is they want to do. Because at the end of the day, if they are the best person on the court or the field, whether they're giving 100% commitment or not, that coach is still going to use them when they need them, right? But it's our job to pull them back. Say, no, listen, you still, you want to play basketball right now, that's fine, but you also have this interest over here in soccer. Why don't you do some soccer? To see what they really want to do. Because like you said, with Roger Federer, he tried different things to figure out what he wanted to do. Some of these athletes, they're talented at multiple sports all the way through high school, college. You look at some of the professionals that have made it both ways, Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson. So people have those loves for different sports that they should be able to enjoy and not just force it down one side. And I think it comes back to us to really make sure that they're dividing their time and giving everything a fair shot.
Yeah. And also the other thing I noticed, and I mentioned earlier when we got on this topic, is the sheer amount of time being spent on the field or the court that these kids are playing is leading to massive injuries and injuries at a younger age because they're not stopping, right? And that's the thing, like these injuries,
they're not fully developed either.
Yeah. And you got these coaches got these kids playing 7 days a week. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's a subject that I've been meaning to bring up in the podcast. It's a topic for much discussion and open debate, but it's also a subject where if you're a coach or you're a parent, you just got to have a tough conversation with yourself. Are you doing this? Are you doing this for all the right reasons? Is your kid really into it? Are they not? Because it puts a financial burden, Dave. Let's talk finances on this for a bit. I know you mentioned, Bryce, go to a rec league, go to a church league, go to maybe your town's league, right? And maybe you get away with $100, and even that is really on the low side. But if you get into club soccer or AAU basketball, I mean, just for instance, Madison, it's going to cost her, anywhere from, I'd say $2,000 on the low end because you got registration fees that are a few $100s. You got uniform fees that are a few $100s. Okay, now you're at $600 without even blinking. You got coaches fees because these coaches are getting paid You know what I mean? And if your kid's not
Mhm.
all in, they're essentially getting paid to babysit your kid if they don't really want to be there. So now you're talking coaches' fees every month, tournaments, hotels when you're at those tournaments. It's a minimum of $2,000. I'd say it's close. If you're talking food and fuel, I'm talking all in. You're probably closer to $4,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you're probably right.
Crazy. Like, where do you budget that in, Dave? Like, is that part of your budget? Like, I don't know.
It has to be part of your budget. Like I said, Kendall's been doing karate for the last 4 years. That's around $170 a month. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
And that goes into our budget every month. And you know what? She loves karate. She's really good at it. It's good for her discipline. It's good for her, physical well-being. And it's good for self-defense. So like, I find that to be a valuable thing for her, and we don't mind putting that into the budget. Now, there's days where she's like, I don't really want to go to karate. And we have the conversation like, oh, we're going to karate. Now, if you don't want to go to karate anymore, you don't like it, that's fine. Have that conversation. Tell me that you don't want to do it anymore. But if it's just you don't feel like it, no, we're going, because that is a commitment. It is a big chunk of the budget. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, Casey and I, we each get $100 a month for spending money. I mean, that's what we do. We've been doing that for 7 years. And that hasn't changed. So Kendall's karate costs almost what our spending money for the entire month is. So yeah, that has to be a budget item. If you know that your daughter's going to play club soccer, and you know the registration fees, you know when it starts, right? So as you start looking ahead towards the budget, you say, all right, if it's in September, I know in September I've got $200 in registration fees, and we've got a tournament in October, we've got a tournament in November, we've got a tournament in January, 2 of them. And we're going to need hotels. So you got to figure that stuff in, and you've got to budget it. You've got to plan it. So when you do your monthly budget before the month starts, you have to put those things in there, and they have to be accounted for, because when they come up, you're going to go, you're going to spend money on food, you're going to spend money on fuel. It all has to be accounted for. Otherwise, you're just going to bust your budget, and you're not going to accomplish any of the goals you set forth for the month or for the year, for that matter. It just gets blown up. So everything has to be accounted for.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned, most people are blowing those weekends on credit cards, the hotel, last minute, get the hotel. But, I think I want to pull it back to what you said, when we first went down the financial part of it. Like, if Kendall just feels like, I just don't really want to go today, no, you're going. Like, that is a hard conversation to have with your kids, because from a financial standpoint, you need to know, like, are you in on this or not? Because you're costing, costing sounds like a terrible word, but it's money that can be used for other things that you may want to do, but you're just doing karate. Are you going there just to go through the motions? Because I don't know about karate, but soccer, like, listen, if you want to play club soccer, you got to be in, because there's other soccer leagues that don't cost $2,000 to $3,000 a year. They're rec leagues.
Sure.
You go out there, when Madison was young, the kids are picking flowers and chasing butterflies, and, but it also costs $100 for the whole season. Where some of these soccer clubs are costing $100 a month, or karate standpoint, $170. So that is the conversation you have to have with your kids. Like, and as your kids get older, like Madison's 11 and going to be 12 in a couple months here. Like, you got to start having those hard conversations with your kids. They're becoming, preteens. They're getting more mature. You know what I mean? There's lots of things, that are probably circling through their head. I mean, shit, I'm going to have 3 girls at the same age. Between teenagers, I mean, there's going to be boys and there's going to be this and that all swirling through their head. So you really got to know where they're at. And those are conversations as parents we have to have. Like, are you in or are you out? Because you can't dip one toe in the club soccer pool and keep going and going through it. You have to be all in or all out. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's a sticky subject with kids. It's a tough subject to have. But these parents, I also want to play devil's advocate, because shit, it's costing me $200 a month to send you here. Your ass is getting in the car and you're going.
And to flip it back around too, we were talking about coaches, or are they there for the right reasons, right? So with Kendall's karate, we've had 2 different versions, right? We've had a version back in Connecticut, we've had a version here in Arizona, and 2 very different styles of approaching the process. Back in Connecticut, it was basically they would teach you everything that you needed to know to get to a certain belt level, and then the next month you would get to that certain belt level, and you'd advance, and you'd keep moving and moving and moving. Where we're at now, and this is great, because it just came up in a conversation the other day that the instructor was having with all the kids. You know, he noticed that they were all kind of falling behind. They were sloppy. Things weren't good. It was a stripe test day. And basically what that means is he goes through all the different things he's taught you in the last few weeks, and you show him what you can do. And if you pass, he gives you a stripe to put on your belt. And if you don't get a stripe. He didn't give anybody stripes. Nobody got one. When you advance and you get a new belt, you pay money to get that new belt. But he doesn't just push you along. You need to show that you've done it. You need to put in the time. And he has that conversation with him all the time that, you know, you need to go home and practice. Karate isn't just, you know, a 2-day-a-week thing. You got to go home and you got to put, even if it's 10 minutes, just put 10 minutes a day into it. You're going to grow faster and you're going to learn. And I think that to me really shows that he's there for the kids. He wants them to be their best. He wants them to learn more than just the karate moves. He wants them to learn how to be disciplined and how to stay focused and how to advance themselves. And I think, you know, that's a big difference, because if you're just giving them a new belt every couple months just because they're going through the motions, what's the point? Are they getting anything out of it?
Yeah, no, and that's right. That's a coach or a trainer or whatever. What do you call a karate teacher? A teacher, a sensei,
master, instructor.
Master. That's one that's a guy or gal that's doing it for the right reasons. You know what I mean? There's discipline involved. There's you know, that
accountability.
Your kid's has to, you know, just like in coaching, you got to earn the respect of the kids before they, you know what I mean? They got to earn your respect, but you also got to earn their respect. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And that's an example of a great coach or master. Whereas I've seen it where coaches show up to practice right when practice starts. They're coming from their job. They're already pissed off because their husband does this or their wife does that. They're carrying. I mean, I've seen it. I've experienced it. They're carrying their baggage with them, and I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be a jerk, but the kids will know that, and they will freaking check you out. They will completely ghost you, and they will completely check out before it even begins. If you don't start practice on the right foot, I promise you, in any sport it is, if the coach doesn't start practice on the right foot, just pack it up and go home, or just make them do something stupid and tedious because you're wasting your time. If you can't compartmentalize enough to leave your shit at home, and when you're at the field, just like anything in life, right? When you're at the gym, you're at the gym. When you're at work, you're at work. When you're at home, you're at home. If you can't be, when you're at soccer practice or basketball practice, be at soccer or basketball practice, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And you're collecting a paycheck from these parents who send their kids to a coach that they don't even like, or is a coach that complains all the time. You know, listen, there's a time. There is a time and a place for strict on the field. And I can tell you that as a, you know, I'm a very strict coach, but I'm probably the most fun coach you're ever going to have as well. You know, there's a time and place for everything. But if you don't read your players and they can't read you the right, you know, in all the right ways, then you're done. You know what I mean? And then just hang it up. It's not worth the $50 a month or $100 a month or the $200 a month, whatever you're getting. It's just not worth it. And that's what I mean when there's these guys and gals out there that are making salaries. I'm sorry. How much heart and soul can you put in to an organization if you're coaching 4 teams, whether it's 4 basketball teams or 4 soccer teams or 4 volleyball teams? How much heart and soul can you really have, especially if you have a day job, to coach that many teams? You can't do it. You're there for the paycheck. You're going through the motions. You're not there for anything else than, hey, you know what? I'm going to make an extra $15,000 this year, whatever the case may be, or 20, or like I said, there's guys that I know that make salaries of 30, 40,000 because all they do is coach. They just coach. Really? It is, you know what I mean? That, you know. Yeah. And I think we can leave it at that on that subject. I mean, that's one that's going to make people mad. Maybe you listen to this and you go, actually, Brett's making a lot of good points on it. You know, maybe I need to take a hard look at myself or my kid or my coach or the organization that I'm sending my kid to, that I'm spending all this money on. You know what I mean? So with that said, you know, let's move on. Let's move on to a new topic, Dave. We'll keep it moving right along here. I don't want to get too long-winded on stuff. What do you got for me?
So I wanted to talk today, Brett, about life insurance. It's not always an easy conversation for people to have for a few different reasons. The first is usually, you know, people don't want to think about dying, right? So life insurance is never the topic that they want to bring up. The other thing is most people think that they're invincible. They think that they're young, they're healthy. What's there to worry about? I'm going to be perfectly fine. If I need it, I'll get it later. Well, the problem is if you need it, it's too late. You already needed it. So life insurance is one of those things that I like to bring up because, quite honestly, I think it's a foundational piece of a financial plan in a lot of ways, because if you're not there and you're a major breadwinner for your family, and even if you're not the breadwinner, if your income is being relied upon by your family to survive and it's not there anymore, what happens to your family?
They're in big trouble.
They're in big trouble, right? So you lose. We'll talk about ourselves right now, right? You lose a father.
Mm-hmm.
So your wife loses a spouse, your kids lose a father. They're already grieving incredibly hard for what just happened. And now, if there's no life insurance in place, now your spouse is bearing this financial responsibility that maybe they never had to deal with before. Like for you, Andine doesn't work right now. If something happens to you, her life gets, I mean, really.
Yeah,
right?
I like to say creditors don't have any sympathy.
No, none at all. So if your mortgage isn't paid next month, they don't care if you died. They care about getting their money.
Yep.
So life insurance is a very big thing for me. It's very important. I think, everyone should have it. And we'll kind of go through some of the differences with life insurance, the different types that are out there, how much they cost, how much you should get. And we'll kind of use that as a jumping off point. So really there's two main types of life insurance. There's whole life and term life. Now, Brett, I know you have term life.
I have term life, and this conversation.
What can you tell me about term life?
This conversation is good because you just kind of threw me right on the bus, because when I first met Dave, he's like, just totally random. He's like, yeah, life insurance. I said, hell no, I'm 28 years old. I don't need damn life insurance. I said, I'm totally good. I'm healthy. Look at me, healthy as an ox. And he goes, and then he kind of just portrayed it just like that. Like, hey, what if you died tomorrow? Like, what's going to happen? I said, I don't know. And he'll sell the house or whatever. He's like, well, why don't you just get some life insurance? You're young and healthy. It's not going to cost you all that much. And if God forbid you died, Andine can survive. She can thrive, for that matter. You know what I mean? So in terms of term, no pun intended, term life insurance, what I know about it is this. I am 36 now. I pay about $25 more this year than I did last year because my age is 1 year older. But I did a 20-year term policy, which means if I die at any point in the next 20 years, Andine has whatever I did, I don't even know, $1 million policy. It was whatever. I think it was $500 for $1 million policy. So that's what it was for the year. I chose to just pay for it up front. You can break it down if you're more of a budgety person and you want to have it be $30 a month or whatever the case may be, or $40 a month. You can do that. I much rather I'm more of a buy it and get that expense done and out of my way. So I just renew it every year. It automatically deducts from my account. So for the last few years, I've had $1 million life insurance policy. So, hey, I haven't died. So I could say, Dave, it's $1,500. Shove it, because that's $1,500 I could still have. But guess what? I could die right when we hang up on this podcast today. And at least Andine's got $1 million to pay off the house and whatever else and use it,
I'm curious. Do you have car insurance?
Yes.
Have you gotten into an accident in the last year?
No.
The last 3 years. You used 3 years as you didn't die in the last 3 years. Have you gotten in an accident in the last 3 years?
No.
Okay. How much more is your car insurance than your life insurance?
Oh, God, it's so much more.
Exactly.
It's so much more.
So we do these things. We get car insurance. We get health insurance. Life insurance should be just as important. It's actually more important, because that's the thing that you can't work yourself out of. Okay. Life insurance.
Let me stop you real quick.
Yeah.
We have to do a health insurance podcast, because you want to get me down a rabbit hole. Let's go down a health insurance podcast.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine.
Anyone listening, we're going to have an episode, or at least a topic on an episode about health insurance. Go back to you now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So term life insurance, for those of you that are kind of just starting the process, maybe you've never had life insurance, maybe you've got a ton of debt. Term life insurance, go call somebody, call a broker today and get yourself some term life insurance, because it's really, really cheap. Now, how much should you get of term life insurance? Well, we like to think and say that 10 times your annual income is a safe bet for life insurance. If you want to push it a little bit, get 15 times. That'll give you a little extra breathing room. Now, why do we say 10 times your annual income in life insurance? And the reason is, if something happens, your spouse or whoever your beneficiary is can take that money and invest it into the stock market. Now, the average return on the stock market is just over 11% a year. So it's not every year, but that's just over the life of the
market.
stock market, that's what the average return will be. So you'll have some years that are down, some years that are up, but typically you can count on that. And the idea is that then you live off the interest that you make off of that money. So like you said, Brett, if you got $1 million life insurance policy, if you're getting 10% on that, you're getting $100,000. That comes back in, and Dean can use that to replace your income for the year. So that's why we say 10 times the annual income. Now, it's cheap. And, usually, as dads, really what we need is anywhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 20 years of level term. Level term means you're paying the same amount every year for the term of the policy. So whether it's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you're paying the same thing throughout. Now, what happens, Brett, if you stay living, which is what we all want, past the 20-year mark?
You have no insurance anymore.
Right. Your life insurance goes away.
Yeah.
So if you die and you're 21, you don't get it. Your beneficiary doesn't get anything. The policy is gone at that point. And what happens to the money you put in?
It's gone.
It's gone as well, right? Just like car insurance, just like health insurance. You don't use it.
Yeah. It's 20 years of, but I guess I'd say, but it's not just accidental death. It's 20 years of any kind of death insurance is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You get hit by a bus, you get paid. You get cancer and you go that way, your beneficiary gets paid. So term life insurance is the best way to go for, I would say, 99.9% of people out there. When you say, what does the other, 1.1% of people do? Well, there's another thing out there called whole life insurance, which is significantly more expensive than term life insurance. So I will not say it's not for anyone, because there's certainly a market for it. But 99.9% of the people out there do not need this. It's something that will usually cost anywhere from 15 to 20 times what it costs to have term life insurance. So why does it cost that much more? Because you have it forever. It's whole life, so you have it for the entirety of your life. If you die at age 85 and you have a whole life policy, that gets paid out to your beneficiaries. So it's with you forever. The insurance companies are going to have to pay out eventually, so they need to get their money back on it. That's how it works. The insurance companies are never losing.
Mm-hmm.
Never losing.
No. Now, question. This is a question from me, but I'm questioning as if I was a listener to the show, right? Mm-hmm. Hi, my name's Joe from Connecticut. Brett says he pays whatever it is, $575 a year for $1 million in life insurance policy. Well, I'm 48. Is it going to be the same price?
With whole life?
No, with term. With term.
With term, yeah.
Is my initial startup point so if I wait till I'm 45 to get it?
No, it's based on age.
Okay.
So the younger you are, the more inexpensive it is.
Okay.
If you've got a lot of health issues, it's going to be more expensive. If you have cancer, if you've had cancer in the last, I believe it's 7 years now, you automatically get declined for any life insurance. It's not, that. So, it differentiates on that. And one point I do want to make is that a lot of people will say, well, I have life insurance through work. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Right. Well, usually it's 1 or 2 times your annual income. So it doesn't hit the threshold we talk about having 10 times your annual income.
It's not even that.
Sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
But the bigger problem is what happens when you lose your job or you change jobs? What if you lose your job and then you get sick? Or what if you get sick while you have your job, right? Now you can't get insurance outside and then you lose your job. Then what do? You don't have it. As soon as that employment is terminated, all of your insurance goes away.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% on board with, I don't know enough about whole life insurance to make it make sense. I just hope to, here's who
it makes sense to. It makes sense to the people that have so much money they don't know what to do with the rest of it, because you can stash some of it away and get some tax benefits on it. That's really the only thing.
Yeah, because the way I look at it is like this. If I do a 20-year term policy, and let's do it 20 years from now, if I'm not financially set at 56, then I don't deserve it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe the word deserves not the right word, but if my mortgage isn't paid off and my kids aren't taken, through college and I'm not financially set up at 56, then I'm never going to be. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. The point is the kids are grown and out at that point. If you're doing the things we talk about and you're committed to a financial plan and you have goals, you'll be self-insured past that. If anything happens to you, the kids are out of the house, everything's paid, house is paid for, kids' college is paid for, and your spouse and you have a nest egg that's sitting there and they don't need to worry about it. If something, God forbid, something happens, they have the means to take care of it because you're self-insured at that point. It's not like all problems just go away, but it's all part of the same plan to be financially free.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a no-brainer, guys. And I'm obviously Dave is the financial guy here, and I'm a bit reckless sometimes when it comes to stuff like that. But I mean, it's a no-brainer. Like, you're not coming to the show for financial advice. We're just trying to give you suggestions and ideas. Like, we're not financial advisors, but like, go get yourself some term life insurance. Like, be smart about it. Unless you got millions and millions upon millions of dollars in the bank. Like, I mean, I promise you, like, if something happened to you, an unforeseen tragedy happened to you at 40 years old, if your wife was going to get $1.5 million, it would make her life a lot easier.
Man, there's nothing worse to me than when I see online GoFundMe pages.
Yeah.
You know, if everybody had some term life insurance, you wouldn't need the GoFundMe pages. And it's great that people do them, and I applaud those that do and those who contribute to them. But what scares me is, like, there's a significant part of the population that just they don't have insurance.
Well, they don't have insurance, and there's a significant part of the population that lives paycheck to paycheck. I mean, you name it. I mean, every day I go home and I look at my kids, I kiss them at night, tell them I love them. You know, I know that if for some reason something happens to me and I don't see them again, that at least they're not going to be burdened with that aspect of it. It makes you think, like, I just traveled, last week I just traveled, and it makes you think, like, I feel fine traveling, because if something happened, that small chance happened I had to go on a road trip for work. Like, if I had to go on a road trip for work and I didn't have life insurance, and then God forbid something happened, that sucks. It makes and believe it or not, it makes traveling, it just gives you like an extra layer of like not confidence. That's not the word, but like a layer of protection, or just peace. Yeah. Layer of peace that you have, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
for sure.
It's interesting to say the least, but so like I said, term life insurance, whole life insurance, ask Dave the questions on this stuff, but term life insurance is a no-brainer, guys and gals that are listening.
Yep, no doubt. It's book recommendation time.
Book recommendation. Let me spin around in my chair here. Many fathers have read this. Many people in general have read this. This book is called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
David Goggins.
All right. Master your mind and defy the odds. I don't even ever say that, because if I say the words can't hurt me, you know who I'm talking about. Yep. He is the GOAT. He is I mean, we could talk 2 hours about his book. Go get his book. It's about all I got to say about it. I mean, I can tell you a few things about it. He's came from a crazy background, all right? His story's unreal. His dad used to beat him. They owned a roller skating rink. His dad was friends with O.J. Simpson and a bunch of other awesome NFL superstars, up in Buffalo, New York. All right. He became fat. Then he got skinny. Then he was fat. Then he became a SEAL, but if I could take one lesson away from it, guys, dads out there, we need to become mentally stronger. We just have so much more inside of us that we never even thought. We just got to dig a little deeper. Like, we got to just, so like he says, sack up, we got to work up here in between our ears. If you're mentally tough, then you're going to be physically fine. It's really hard to be great if you're not great upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And his book is it's tremendous. Go read it. His story itself. I mean, and not to mention he puts out some of the best Instagram videos. Like, oh man, like,
dude is a savage.
One of his great lines of all time is, "Nothing ever got done by being a bitch." Okay, it's just one of the greatest lines, and it's so true. I'm wearing a Cam Hanes shirt. For those of us watching on YouTube, Nobody Cares Work Harder. Cam Hanes and Goggins and Rogan, they're all good friends. I mean, they go on each other's podcasts all the time. I mean, he's just, listen, he just does pull-ups for fun. If he's, he runs 7 miles a day. He just squashes everybody's excuses is what he does. Man. And, you just got to dig deeper. We all got to dig deeper. We all can be 1% better. We all could be, I could be 30% better if I dug a little deeper,
Yeah.
So
my biggest takeaway from that book, that book is that if you think your life is hard, it's not compared to some people's.
Yeah.
And he was able to take himself out of an incredibly difficult position and rise above, all expectations and thrive. And it's just such a great book to just really kind of see someone's transformation from where they started to where they finished and how they're not done.
Yeah.
I think that's the key, right? He got himself out. He worked this life and he still does it. And he's pushing himself and everyone else to be better. It's an awesome book, man. It's entertaining. It's fun. He used some colorful language. It's great.
And if you listen to him, if you follow him on Instagram or any of social media platforms, I strongly recommend, if you're going to buy the book, if you have no idea who he is, go get him on Instagram first and listen to him, because when you know what his voice is like and then you read the book, it just makes it. There's just some of those voices out there that if you know what they sound like in real life and then you read their book, you feel like as you're reading the book in your mind as them, and it just makes it so much. It makes it so much better. So but that's your book recommendation. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Go out and get it. Audio book, Amazon, order it. I like hard copy books. But that's the show today, Dave. I appreciate you being here with me and co-hosting this thing, man. Fun. We're just having so much fun doing it, and we're only getting better. And we'll talk to you again next week. Anything from you, Dave? Send us home.
Everybody just continue, follow us, and keep involved, keep staying involved. Follow us on @FullForceFathers on Instagram and on all major podcasting platforms and on YouTube. And Full Force Fathers, keep living the full force life. We'll talk to you soon.